Alright, so all of you saw the video, and that's my entire team, and that's a beautiful glimpse of our community center in this area called Najafgarh, which is about 40 minutes off of Dwarka. So that's where we started our first project essentially. I work in the development sector for about 5 years now. I started when I was in class 10th in school, and I did a lot of workshops for underprivileged children in my school. And then I moved on my first year to start becoming my foundation. Even now, I hate it when someone calls me a social worker. I hate it when people associate me with charity. And I hate it when someone comes to me and they know about becoming a foundation, and the first thing they say is, oh my God, I could never give up everything and do what you do. It really bothers me that people have that opinion of my work, that I have given up everything in life, I don't want to earn money, I don't have aims and goals, and that is why I have gone back to something called social work. So a lot of times this happens, and I'm an economics student, or at least, well, I'm studying economics. And one of the very, very important, interesting economic concepts that I've learned, or at least the ones that I remember, is called warm glow giving. Now this concept states that every philanthropy is selfish. It states that for any person who's donating, or for any giver, his motive is way beyond just the welfare of the recipient. It goes beyond that. And these motives can be a lot of different things. These motives can be a feeling of selflessness. These motives can be ego boost. These motives can be others appreciating the kind of work that you're doing. And like I said, calling you godly and calling you selfless. So these motives range from there entirely. So that basically is warm glow giving. And which the one thing that it states is that altruism basically doesn't exist. And everything that I'm telling you, by the way, is in confidence. I mean, this is like secrets of the development world that really shouldn't get out. That essentially, all of us inside are selfish. Whether it's for money, whether it's for some sort of recognition, whether it's for some sort of relevance in the world. So what I'm going to tell you today is one secret. Selfishness at whatever age, in whatever profession, in the development sector, is not a bad thing. And the second thing I'm going to tell you is another myth, which is that development sector is equal to no money. So when I'm talking to a lot of young people, and like we're having conferences and discussions about what are you going to do when you grow up, what are you going to do after college, and everything I get is, oh, I want to join the corporate world, I want to do an MBA. Why? Because I want to live a comfortable life. I'm sorry, but just because I'm in the development sector, you're saying I don't want to live a comfortable life? I got this dress for $200 on a trip to New York, probably my 8th trip to New York, which was funded by an NGO called the Nike Foundation, if you guys have heard of it. So that completely goes against all of that, doesn't it? Or either I'm just this exception who likes to boast about my foreign trips and buy expensive things, right? So I'm going to try and burst both of these myths for you today. Now, becoming my foundation, I started it about 3 years ago, and I was just out of high school then, and the concept then was that I felt that I had a lot of young people around me. I knew that all of these people were very passionate about what was happening. They knew about things, they were aware, they were sensitized, but there was something missing, which is that when does this talk, or when do these thoughts go beyond just a roundtable discussion? When do these thoughts just go beyond a debate or a module conference? So what was lacking, I felt, was that I had these young people, and these young people had passion, but there was no platform to do something about it. There was no platform to tell these people that, listen, you're living in Delhi, you're living in South Delhi, and you don't know of the things that are happening in the outskirts of your own city, let alone the country or the world, right? So that's how becoming a foundation came about. I still had to call it sort of my pursuit towards relevance, because I think again going back to the entire selfishness concept, I want to feel relevant, I want to feel important, I want to feel like I'm doing something, and I want to feel like I'm getting recognized for it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, with Becoming I, we started with our first project. I mean, at that point in time, we had no idea about anything. I didn't know how to take interviews, I didn't know how to recruit the team, I didn't know how to get my word out, I didn't know anything about publicity or communications, I didn't know how to portray my organization in what is something that we inviting to young people. I didn't know how to open a bank account. I was very clumsy with my email. I was not managing my Facebook well enough either. And at that point, I mean, more than anything else, I was sort of searching for that one thing that I need to start with. That one thing that gives me just a jump start and something that sort of gives me the feeling that this is right and this is going to be worth it eventually. So our first project came when I had a friend coming down from the US, and she took me to this village, the one that you saw in the video, called Najafgarh. And this village is about 40 minutes off of Dwarka. And this village is basically, this entire community is a community of victims of sex trafficking. This is Dwarka. I'm sure most of you guys have been there. And this is an entire community of victims of sex trafficking. And this sex trafficking is not something that we read about in books. It's honestly, when I went there for the first time, I had no idea that something like this could exist. Because what this is culture-based sex trafficking. Which means that these women, on the basis of their culture, and saying that this is your duty, are going ahead and selling their bodies to fill the stomachs of their children. Their husbands are unemployed. And their husbands and their in-laws are the ones pushing them in this trade. So I went there for the first time, and I remember that, I mean, the village, the community was just like anything that you'd imagine on the outskirts of Delhi. And you could never know that something like this was going on there. But the first time that I went there, I remember there was a car standing right outside, and there was this one man who was getting in, and there were these 4 women sitting in the back. So when I went inside, we spoke to the community leader, we had a conversation with a couple of the women, and it turns out that that guy was the husband of one of those women and was driving them to a nearby brothel. I saw this, I spoke to the community leader, I interacted with the women, I spoke to the children, I got a feel of the place, and I was hooked. In retrospect, I don't regret anything. I mean, people keep asking me why something so radical. For your first project, you were 19. You had no idea what these things mean. At no point could you say, okay, what if I put myself in that woman's position? Because I absolutely cannot. I cannot imagine the life that she leads. But somehow, I just got hooked and I went with it. So, what we've done with Project Fiza is that we've been working there for the past 3 years, and we've gotten to know the community has gotten to know us as kids. We're coming to help them because they have very bad experiences with so-called NGOs who just come in, disturb their working and just leave. So we did a lot of workshops, we did a lot of life skills development workshops, we had a lot of street plays on the importance of education, on female infanticide, all of these things, on domestic violence. We started a sort of self-group in the community center itself. We got the community center renovated. We trained the women to create art and craft items. That I went for a conference to Paris and I took those diaries and folders made by the women, and the money that we got from them was used as their first salary. So that's again one of the initiatives that we took on. Now through this, we felt that yes, we're trying to impact change. We're trying to change the lives of these women, but something so deep-rooted cannot go away in the next 5, 10, or maybe even 20 years because it's your culture. I mean, if some American comes to me today and tells me, why do you pray a certain way? Or why do you touch someone's feet? My first reaction is going to be, what the hell do you know? Who are you? This is my culture, this is how I function. And you have no idea about my life or the life of my family. So it was a very, very deep-rooted problem. So where we went from there was that we felt that if we really wanted to bring about change, it would only come from a grassroots initiative, which meant that we wanted to impact the children. Because those children were the future of that community, and if in some way we could ensure that each of those children go to school, this would be stopped from the very beginning, right? So that's where we started with Project School Chale Hum. That was the second project, started in Najafgarh. And what Project School Chale was based on was this notion that we thought that, when I was back in school, what were the things that excited me when I was in primary school, when I was in class 2 and 3? I was very, very excited about shiny pencil boxes. I was very excited about nice backpacks and nice pencils and sharpeners and those little things that the government doesn't even think about. I mean, right now in the government schemes for children to go to school, they have this ugly blue bag that you will find all children low-income areas carrying. That doesn't excite me. So we thought of that and we brought that in to a concept that said that a child will go to school if you give him the adequate incentive. Not if you give his parents an adequate incentive, but if you give him an adequate incentive. The child doesn't care about money. Yes, you give him food, but he'll only eat the food if he thinks it's tasty. Otherwise he won't. So your midday meal scheme doesn't work if the food is not good to taste. So that's another thing that we came up with. And that's how Project School Chale started. We tried to look for incentives in the nearby schools in this area for these kids to go to school. We did a lot of door-to-door researches. We went to each house and just asked the parents, why don't you send your children to school? And the responses we got were absolutely ridiculous. There were things like, oh, abhi ek mahine gaya tha, to ek mahine hum socha chutti le lete hain. And things like, his elder brother goes, why does the younger brother have to go? And obviously, well, things that you already know, that the boys in the family go, so why does the girl have to go? And things like, there's no bus service. So what we did was we made a list of all of the excuses. And we said, we'll go by this list, and we'll try and chalk out everything that we can change in this list, and whatever we can eliminate. So we started a bus service for a group of these girls to go to the nearby secondary school. We started awareness campaigns in the area, and we specifically told parents that, listen, you don't need a birth certificate to enroll your kid in school. You don't need to enroll only in the beginning of the year. You can enroll at any time in the year. So all these things we did, and I mean, that's when we realized that all these problems are very basic. I mean, we make a big deal out of them. We make a big deal out of education and the right to education and everything that goes with it. It's very basic. If you just put yourself in that position and think back, when I was in school, what would I have done? Why would I want to go to school? Again, on this concept, we started a new project in mainstream Delhi, now moving away from Girotra, called Project Leap. Project Leap today is prevalent in 25 schools and has more than 250 volunteers working under it. What Project Leap does is, again, goes back to school and thinks, when I was in school, what were the things that I liked doing? I didn't like to study, that's for sure. So then why did I go to school? Not because I had a far-fetched vision of my future, not because I had any attachment to the books that I was reading, but because I liked my music classes, I liked my dance classes, I liked my debating classes, I liked my theatre group. And all of those things, I might be the most horrible singer in the world, I might not be able to dance at all, but I know that all of those things in some way have contributed to the person that I am today, have contributed to the fact that I'm standing on this stage right now and speaking to an audience. So then in a low-income school, why don't those things exist? Why are we only in the garb of education, just giving out rote learning exercises and building what? The next generation guards, the next generation drivers, the next generation small shop owners and laborers? I'm sorry, but what is this education doing? Yes, I can make sure that a kid goes to school till class 12, but what after that? He hasn't learned anything. He doesn't have any necessary skills. He doesn't have the confidence to stand in public. So that's when we started Project Leap. We got people who were interested in theatre, in music, in dance, in sports, in art and craft, and we sent them to these schools, to 25 schools across Delhi, and we conducted workshops with these kids and told them that, listen, you can sing, you can dance, and what you can also do is make a play on your English lesson. What better way of learning an English lesson than actually acting in a play about it, right? So that was Project Leap. It's still going on, we're in our third phase right now. Then, we thought of a lot of organizations, what they've been doing right now is trying to understand policy, trying to understand a lot of lawmakers and a lot of policy frameworks that go on in India today. So at that point in time, there's a lot of controversy about the right to education and the 25% reservation for economically weaker sections in private schools. So what we did was, we thought that, listen, one of the, I think, characteristics of young people today is that we jump to conclusions too fast. We see a rape incident happening. You have Facebook's long famous Facebook statuses about blaming the rape law and about police in India and about Delhi being the unsafest city and everything. I'm sorry, but have you read the rape law? Again, with education, I'm sorry, but have you read the right to education and everything that it entails? Have you attempted to understand it? I don't think so. So that's when Project Enable came in. We thought that we'll get private school students together for 4 months. We will train them on the right to education, on all of the challenges surrounding it, and we'll have them create initiatives in their own school that make their own schools more accessible. So they're basically answering questions like, if I'm in my school and I'm in my class and I have 30 kids who come from the same background that I do, but now I have 10 more kids coming from a completely different background, how am I supposed to react? Am I supposed to have a bias? Is there a stereotypical notion that my parents have built in my head that I need to follow in some way? So Project Enable did that. We then have Project Canvas, which is a form of art expression and sort of making empty rooms and empty walls into a form of art. So then we have that. And all of this, I think, comes from something very basic, which is how much change. How much change do you want to bring? What is the potential of the impact that you can bring about? And it's very simple, like I said, all of these things were just thoughts in our head, and we were just like, okay, we're sitting, we have chart paper, let's draw the project. And 4 months later, the project is right in front of your eyes. A question that I also get from people is, what are the statistics that you have? What are your numbers? And all I say to them is, I don't have any numbers. But what I do know is that in our community center in Rajafgarh, there are now more women going to the community center than there are sitting at home. There are more women now talking to us than there are who are staying silent. In the community center, there are less children coming to the community center, which means there are more children going to school. All these people are now very, very open about all of their issues, and they're coming and talking to us and approaching us. More than anything else, the 20 core team member panel that I work with, I remember the time they came to me, and I see them now. And the change is enormous, believe me, in the way they think, in their belief systems, in the way they work, in how practical they used to be and how dreamy they've now become, or how dreamy they used to be and how they've now sort of started thinking of how everything needs a plan of action, everything needs a schedule, right? So I think that's pretty much my answer to any statistical question. What are the numbers? I don't have numbers, but I'm telling you I have done this and it's right in front of my eyes. Another question that I often get is, what are you getting out of this? And now this gets back to our selfish concept. I am selfish. I'm very, very arrogantly so. My entire core team is very, very selfish, but what we do believe in is that in the development sector, there are two concepts of giving. There's one that says that I am at a higher pedestal and I have to affect the life of someone who's below me. And that is charity. That is social work. But I'm saying that my concept of giving is balance. My concept says that I am here and this person comes from a very different background but is also at the same pedestal as me. He knows things that I can not even dream to ever know. So as much as I am giving something to him, I am taking immense amounts back. And more often than not, I'm taking more back. So that again brings me to the fact that I am selfish. And so are most young people or even old people today. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So then comes my 10 point, very quickly, my 10 points of what I get out of becoming a foundation. I get my real education. When people ask me, so what do you do, what are you studying? I say, I'm studying economics, but wait, that's not my education. What I'm learning every day by visiting these low-income areas, by visiting these communities, is something that no university in the world can ever dream of teaching me. I'm understanding people, whether it's the people that I work with or the communities that I work in. I'm understanding new things about how people function. Why is someone the way they are? How do they think in a certain way? Why is someone so emotional? And how is that emotional potential getting them somewhere? I understand the importance of the informal sector. There's something that, being us and being in the kind of environment that we've grown up in, we don't really get. is that informal sector is basically what is running this country today. All the little things about farming, about agriculture, about laborers, about small shops, about small handicrafts is something that contributes more than 85% to our GDP today. And that's something which, again, being in engineering college and Delhi University, it's hard to comprehend that that's how it happens. So my question is, if these guys are contributing that much, then why are we not helping them do something about it? Why are we not getting them from their standard of living at least closer to our standard of living? Arrogance is never a bad thing. I'm sorry, but if I've done something and I'm very, very proud of it, and I have every right to be arrogant about it. I have every right to rub it in someone's face. Because I'm proud of what I've done, and you can't take that away from me. It's okay to be called stupid over and over again. So one of the things that we have in Becoming Our Foundation is that whenever we have a core team meeting, we're all sitting and someone comes up with an idea, and you have to see this, I swear to God, if I had a video I would have shown it to you. There are opinions flying left, right and center. Everyone is criticizing the other person. Everyone is saying, no, you're stupid, you're not making sense, you're being too dreamy, you're being too practical. So one sentence I have for this is that at Becoming Our meeting, it wakes your brain up. It wakes your brain up like nothing else does. I love the attention I'm getting. I swear to God, I love the fact that you guys are sitting silently and listening to me. Bringing that into a bigger perspective. So we recently had a volunteer induction program. Not recently, about a year ago, I think. We put up on Facebook, people applied, all of that happened. We got 6 applications from Egypt. And funny as that is, this was when the revolution was going on. So my email literally to them wrote that, I'm really happy that you're applying to my organization, but how the hell did you get internet in the middle of the revolution? So again, that's something that, I love the attention that my organization is getting, and I love the attention that I'm getting. And I do not give that up for anything in the world. The obsession point. Now I think like in whatever you do, whether it's a developing sector, whether it's something entrepreneurial, or it's something in mainstream corporate, if you're not obsessed with it, it's not going to get done. If your life doesn't depend on it, if you know that for 1 minute, if this goes out of my mind, 10 people are going to stop working, it's not going to work out. You need to be obsessed. If you're in the right direction, go wrong. Which basically means that, I'm sorry, but the right path for too long becomes boring. And I want things in my life to be exciting as far as I can take it, whether right now or 10 years down the line. So if you think that you've been doing the right thing for too long, please do not hesitate to take a risk and go wrong about it. Small ideas lead to big change. Now again, this is an example of this is in our Rajapur Community Center where we're having a small street play about the importance of education for the girls in the center. And so 6 of these girls came to me after the play and said that, can we talk to you in the corner? So I went to them. And they told me that our fathers are taking us out of school tomorrow. Can you talk to them? It's this very, very small thing that made me realize that somewhere what we're doing is working. Somewhere in a very, very small way, it's having the impact that we wanted to have. And the 10th thing, happiness, is the most important thing. So what I do very often is that in my mind, every once a month, I think of these photographs, either from my Facebook album or something that someone clicked with me, and I think, what is the one moment in the last 1 month that I was incredibly happy? What is that photograph? This is my photograph. This is in our community center. Which again makes me think that if I wasn't happy, if I wasn't unbelievably happy, I wouldn't be doing this every